Hello, everyone, scholar, practitioner, leaders, data scientists, SPLs. Welcome to our week 7. And first, as always, I want to congratulate everybody for doing a fantastic job on your week 6, getting all your assignments in a timely and professional manner. I really do appreciate that. Everyone did a fantastic job, and I especially like the part when you guys completed your quizzes because those are self-grading, and when you complete them all, it automatically flags me in the system that they're all complete. So kudos everybody for a great week 6, and I really do appreciate that. But again, I want to welcome you to our 2025 fall statistics for data science section, MSDS 531 A01, and this is for our first by term. So again, so let's go ahead and rock and roll, guys. We got a lot to cover this upcoming course for this week. And as you can see, I'm sure you guys already went out to our week 7 and noticed that we have several assignments. And this is really interesting because this is the first time that we've ever had 4 assignments. So I know you guys are going to really appreciate that. But those 4 assignments are not that really strenuous. Just because it's 4 assignments doesn't mean it's going to be a lot of head banging per se to really get you guys really engulfed in our statistics. As far as I'm concerned, you guys already been there. You did all the head banging exercises. So now here in our week 7, we're actually winding down. So that's a great thing. And that goes to show you that time really does fly. And that's why you see that therefore mentioned clock behind me, because time has really flown in this first bi term for our statistics course. And next week, just so you know, which is week 8, next week will be the short week, and all of our assignments will have to be due on Wednesday of next week. But right now, it's all about week 7. So this is a regular week. All the assignments, when it's all done and said, have to be in by Sunday. But that following week, that ensuing week, which is next week, which is our final week, week 8, those assignments will have to be in, all assignments due by Wednesday, because your grade for the course will be populated and posted on that Friday. So, and I'll remind you guys about that again on the last lecture, for lecture 4 of 4. But right now, let's just focus on this lecture 1 of 4 for our week 7. However, we're going to talk about week 6 content first, okay? So let's go back to week 6, as I alluded to. And let's look at all that great work that you guys did. Because again, you guys did a tremendous job on those 3 assignments. And I just want to go over our learning material first. And then in lecture 2 of 4, the next lecture, we'll actually go over those assignments. But let's go back to that learning material, because that was really steadfast in regard to you guys jumping on it, knowing that I've already went over it in our lecture that I presented to you last week. And looking at you guys' assignments, like I said, I guess because time is flying, this week 6, now this week 7, you guys really jumped on the assignments, got them all taken care of, because you know as well as I know, it's all about the points now. So we have to get those points. And it looks like you guys, as truly as I've been advocating, grabbing the bull by the horns and jumping in and getting everything done, because we're now at the closure part of our course, and every point is like a jewel. You get those points and stack them all up, you're really going to shine in this course. So, and I think you guys actually understand that now. So it's evident. So great job with that, guys, getting everything done and getting these 3 pass assignments. Okay, so let's go over that deliverables that I presented to you last week. And we know that that deliverable is derived from the overview for the week. So the overview last week for that week 6 was all about regression and classification methods, how they are supervised methods, right? In which models are trained on data where outcomes are known, and so they can predict outcomes given new data, as I mentioned last week, right? And then it was all about going into the classification, such as the K nearest neighbors, classifying records in accordance with how similar records are classified. And you guys saw that in those two assignments, two of the three, because again, you had those quizzes, you had that quiz rather, but you saw that in your assignment as well as reading the chapters. And we'll talk about those chapters in a second. Furthermore, in my deliverable slash overview, I mentioned last week about statistical machine learning and distinguished from it actually is distinguished from classical statistical methods since it is actually data driven and does not seek to impose linear or other overall structure on the data. And you guys saw that. So that was really, really crucial when you did your reading and did your assignment last week, right? Because now you saw that it doesn't seek to impose linear or other overall structure on types of data that you guys want to manage or work with, right? And you guys, like I said, you saw it. So that was pretty cool. And that's why I'm hoping that you really enjoy those two assignments outside the quiz. And the quiz sort of went into it just a tad bit. But again, we'll go over the quiz and those assignments shortly. And then also, furthermore, in my deliverable for week 6 last week, I mentioned that the widely used technique for classification is based on, we guys, I know you know now, those decision trees. Those decision trees are everything when you're talking about classification. So the technique learns rules about relationships between predictor and the outcome variable. So that was really what week 6 was in its totality was really going into how you look at the techniques and learn the rules about relationships between that predictor and that outcome variable. Same thing with the classification methods, such as the K nearest neighbors, how it classifies records in accordance to how similar records are classified. So those were the two tangibles last week that I really want you to put those tangibles in your hip pocket and make sure you got a good grasp on it. Because as always, you're going to see that again. So when you did your quiz, guess what? You saw it, right? So I wasn't pulling your leg. You guys knew, like, wow, if Dr. Mark keeps emphasizing this, I know it's going to be right around the corner. And figuratively and literally, it was with that quiz that you guys did last week. Okay. So also from week 6, the overall week 6 objective, the model objective, they call it model objectives that you wanted to get out of week 6 was by the end of that module, it was 4 things that I mentioned to you, right? It was all about being able to differentiate between K nearest neighbors and that therefore mentioned tree models, okay? Second of 4 was building decision tree models. Thirdly, it was evaluating K nearest neighbors model performance, as I just mentioned. And then last but not least was being able to build that K nearest neighbors model that I just also articulated to you guys. So those was, like I said, that deliverables that I read from the overview, which I already posted. And you guys saw that in the this your overall announcement board when I post those deliverables, how I articulated, I think it was like a total of 7 that I posted for you. And then also you had those module objectives, right, for the end of the week. So you had everything you needed to go into week 6. All you had to do was read the chapter, take great notes, listen to that lecture that I gave you last week, also take notes from that, and you would have been really good to go. And that's, and you know me, guys, I always, it may seem like a lot, but it's good to over prepare you than always, thinking I'm giving you just enough. And then I'm wondering, hey, did I actually under prepare them? And I never want to do that. So those items, and me, I'm a stickler to giving you concisely what you need. I'm never trying to give you anything just to fill the void per se, right? And I don't want to fill the void. So everything that I articulate to you in these lectures, as well as your assignments and the reading material in the book, is indicative of what you're going to see on your assignment. So in that practical statistics for data scientists, the book by that you've been reading all course long by Bruce and Get It, you know now that that book is very, very on point when it comes to the respective chapters and what we're doing for that ensuing week, right? So the book aligns very well as, as well as me also giving you the materials you need. So straight to the point, never trying to go around the world trying to throw you off. And like I said, that's never fair to you guys. Okay, so you had those deliverables, you had the module objectives. So moving forward, everything was good for last week from week 6, and it's very indicative of your grading. That I haven't actually graded it. I've looked at your assignments. So doing all my samples, taking a good lay of the land on your work, it looks really, really good, guys. And like I said, you guys are crunching it, really trying to make sure you get those points. So that's a good thing. So in that book last week, for chapter 6, you had to read all about SML, as I had mentioned, right? That's statistical machine learning. And as I therefore mentioned, the previous 2 sections that we needed to look was that K nearest neighbors for last week and the tree models, right? So once you read that, taking the good notes, listen to my lecture, and making sure you got a good understanding of those deliverables as well as those 4 module objectives. I believe it was 7 deliverables that I was expecting out of you from last week. But if you did that, you would have succinctly mastered last week, which was week 6. Okay, those 4 objectives, along with those deliverables that I'm expecting you guys to have all those items in your hip pocket by the close of this past week, which was Sunday night, because I was actually looking at your material, everything you guys were submitting up until the final minute, as always, because I'm always up late on Sundays, and I don't mind because I'm always going through all the grading, checking everything, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, make sure we got everything. And like I said, you guys was really rock stars in regard to week 6. So that's a great thing. Okay, so the book material from the SML section, that statistical machine learning, was all about K nearest neighbors and tree models. You guys did the reading. I'm sure you guys took great notes because everybody did pretty well on those daggone quizzes. Not one, I believe the bell curve on the quiz was like at a 97%. So that's phenomenal. And then in our embedded link in the chapter for chapter 6 last week, I gave you those 2 sections I told you about. Well, actually, it was 1 section, excuse me. It was that section 9.5, the machine learning models, okay? Because that tied into the tree models from the book, right? So as long as you read that embedded link, went to the embedded link in chapter 6, looked at that ML models, the machine learning models, you would have had that elusive winner, chicken dinner, right? Meaning that you guys won, you got everything nailed, you nailed it, winner, chicken dinner, right? That's the phrase. So like I said, understanding that machine learning models from the modern statistics with the R from our embedded link here in chapter 6. Just click on it, look at that section, contrast it with tree models from chapter book from our practical statistics for data science. That SML section, you guys would have seen some overlap, really straightforward tree models, machine learning models. Okay, I can differentiate it. I get it. And then you saw that also on your quiz. Okay, so that ML learning models was machine learning models rather was pretty tricky if you didn't know how to differentiate that from the tree models. Okay, so and it looks as though you guys did very well. Like I said, the bell curve on the quiz is 97%. So kudos to my data scientists. So great job. And then also from chapter 6 last week, you also had that supplemental material that I always give you guys if you guys want to do more of a deep dive. And it looks like you guys has really been going out to that supplemental book material, really taking great advantage of that. So I like that because you guys are really doing good from a data scientist, scholar, practitioner, leader perspective. You guys understand that, hey, if I get a little bit more training on, say, machine learning models, tree models, and the K nearest neighbors, I'm going to do very well in this course. Thus the quizzes, and it looks as though you guys have been taking that supplemental book material and really running with it. So, and I appreciate that. And then also I had that R tutorial link just in case you guys still need to go back and look at that when you're doing the R tool, doing your data extrapolations or whatever the case may be. That link is always there for you. Okay. Okay. So for me, guys, that's it for this lecture 1 of 4 for our week 7. When I come back, we'll go back into week 6 still and look at our assignments. See you guys in just a second. Bye-bye.